Updated November 10, 2017. 193,758 Queensland Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk has again played on her opponent's record as she pledged more than $500 million in funding for new and refurbished schools. Labor will spend $308 million for 6 new schools plus $235 million to refurbish a further 17 over the next 4 years. As our population continues to grow in Queensland, we need to keep expanding and build new schools, Ms. Palaszczuk said. Some of older schools are needing a boost, a refurbishment to cater for the growing population. Primary Secondary Ripley Valley Caboolture Area Special School North Lakes Coomera Pimpama Yarrabil Ripley Valley Ipswich supplied Ms. Palaszczuk made the announcement at Brisbane's Everton Park State High School, which was among a number of schools the Newman government considered closing. "My government builds new schools, Tim Nicholls closed schools," she said. This school was on the chopping block under Tim Nicholls and Campbell Newman. It is a theme which has dominated the campaign, with Labor seeking to remind voters of what it sees as the opposition leader's weakness, his time in the former Newman government. It follows on from a previous pledge by the government to spend $500 million to build 2 new inner-city schools to keep up with population growth. Education Minister Kate Jones said Labor would close regional schools where there were no students for more than 18 months. "We certainly, unlike the LNP, would not close a school like Everton Park in the middle of Brisbane, which is one of the fastest-growing cities in Australia," Ms. Jones said. Labor also used the tactic to attack the LNP's major announcement of the day, a $52 million policy to tackle the drug ice. LNP ICE policy: $30 million for new rehab centers, $2 million drug treatment team for remote indigenous communities, $8 million ICE law enforcement task force, $8 million for education and prevention programs at the Sunrise Way Rehab Center in Toowoomba. Tim Nicholls said 4 new regional drug and alcohol rehabilitation centers would be opened in Caloundra, Toowoomba, Wide Bay and Cairns. He said the Palaszczuk government signed up to the National ICE Action Plan nearly 2 years ago, but had released only a draft response. While Anastasia Palaszczuk does nothing, ICE continues to damage towns like Roma, St George, Maryborough and Bundaberg, Mr. Nicholls said. Little wonder the Warrego and Bruce are known as the ICE highways. But Health Minister Cameron Dick said Mr. Nicholls needed to apologise for LNP government cuts to health and community support services. Tim Nicholls sacked 4,400 health workers when he was Campbell Newman's right-hand man, Mr. Dick said. This includes doctors and nurses, who play a vital role caring for patients and families impacted by drugs. Tim Nicholls even cut $14 million out of drug and alcohol services, forcing 20 staff out of agencies like Drug Arm, Boys Town, and the Alcohol and Drug Foundation of Queensland. Refusing to respond to the comments made by Mr. Dick, Mr. Nicholls said I'm interested in looking after the future of Queenslanders. Cameron Dick is interested in playing politics with the past. Mr. Dick said Labor announced this week it would invest $16.4 million in new funding over 4 years for drug and alcohol treatment services. Preferences reveal that ABC understands that LNP voters will be asked to put One Nation ahead of Labor in at least 50 seats. The LNP will recommend that the Greens be preferenced last in every seat behind One Nation and Labor on how to vote cards. A spokesman for the LNP said no preference deals have been done, and the recommendations have been decided after consulting with local branches. Labor will list One Nation last on its how to vote cards. One Nation will put the Greens last and sitting candidates from the major parties second last. Topics: Elections, Government and Politics, ALP, Liberal National Party, Queensland, Political Parties, Everton Park 4053, Brisbane 4000, Queensland, Australia. First posted November 10, 2017. 132,625.